Hello everybody on YouTube land and everyone who is watching this live. I am doing something mostly for my own curiosity, but you know, if people want to see my discussion and join in the discussion live on Twitch, I'm not going to say no. Even comments on YouTube, I'm not going to say no. But what I'm doing today is I'm looking back at the tier list that just came out around Christmas of myself, Bryn, and Travis ranking our own personal power levels of the investigators. And comparing that to kind of see how that has changed from what we thought about them in 2022, and also how we view the power levels differently, which I think is the most important part when it comes to tier lists for this game. This game is not like something like Magic the Gathering, where first off, it's not competitive. It's a cooperative game, so it's not like you're forced to play certain things just because you think they're powerful. Number two, it's not like Magic the Gathering where there's like win rates associated with decks that are like determined exactly like the meta. This is a cooperative game that you play with yourself and your friends, so everybody's different. Everybody, how they view the power level for these investigators is different. So this is just playing board games' idea of what the power level are for these investigators. They are not actually the set in stone power levels for them, because it's very hard to argue that these characters have a set in stone power level, apart from maybe a few. Jess CCG, thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a great stream. I dig it. I appreciate it. We're going to dive in and keep this going. And let's start with Roland Banks. So this year I gave him a B, Bryn gave him an A, Travis gave him a C, and 2020 we gave him a B. So in our 2020 tier list, we actually did not have an A+, we had an A and an A-. So just for consistency, I've made it so that the A was essentially an A+, and the A- became an A, because this year we did an S, A+, A, B, C, and D. And then also a not available if we didn't play it. Yeah, you're right, Astute Dunsparks. B is for Banks. So as you kind of see, I didn't change much to how it's gone from 2020. I still view him as just a B investigator. He's good. Bryn gave him a nice A. Travis gave him a C, a little bit lower. And as it settles perfectly as a B. So I think this one, our opinion hasn't really changed from 2020 into 2021. Jess CCG, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the goddamn table. It's a pleasure to have you. I think this Roland one is pretty uninspiring, pretty accurate, and I think that's this would carry over. Our opinions of Roland have not changed from 2020 to 2021, which makes sense because Roland's a core investigator. He's been around for a long time, and he's kind of just how he is. Let's move on to Daisy. So one thing I learned when we were doing these tier lists is that Bryn doesn't like Daisy. This was something that I learned, and of course I was just the mediator for Bryn's tier list, so I couldn't be like, Bryn, what the heck? But as you can see, I gave Daisy an A+, Travis gave her an A+, Bryn gave her a C, and 2020 it's an A. I'm not sure exactly. I think with Bryn, a big thing is that he wants to find the characters enjoyable. He wants them to be powerful, but he also wants them to be fun. And he probably just doesn't find Daisy fun, which brings down the power level for her a bit. She has a good card pool. But as one thing you'll see in my ratings, the card pool does not have to do as much as it does in Bryn and Travis. They look at their card pool a lot. As for the power level, like for example, say Akachi, well, I focus on the stats. Just another example of how we all view these cards differently. If this was happening, and Travis and I were each giving her an A+, and Bryn was giving her a C, she probably would fall into A again for a group rating. So I think, once again, this has kind of hit exactly where we were in the past. So that one's consistent. Skids had it rough this year. As you can see, from 2020 to 2021, our group opinion on Skids has fallen down. So if I would have to give Skids a 2021 group rating, he would probably get a D as well, right? My Daisy experience was drawing rats many times and being like, oh no, I guess I'm dead. Sounds like you need some backup. You need another investigator who can kill rats. Yeah, but Skids, I don't like Skids. I've not been a fan of Skids. I've recently replayed Skids, and I think this is just kind of telling for we're not on Playing Board Games big fans of Skids O'Toole. I am playing him again right now, currently in a run that hasn't come out on the channel yet. I still don't think he's that great. I still think he's still a D for me. He's still a D for me. Agnes Baker. This one's also pretty similar. We're pretty similar here as well. A for me, A for Bryn, A for 2020. Travis gives her an A+. I haven't seen Travis play Agnes in a while, but I think that I think this is fair. We're pretty close to this one. Travis's A+ is very noticeable. She is I think she's a good investigator, and Travis thinks she's a great investigator. So not much to say about this one. When I was making this slide, I was a little bit disappointed that Wendy Adams's page says ass, considering she's a child. But I gave her an A+, Bryn and Travis gave her S's, and 2020 we gave her an S, which is mostly from the... this is actually too, if we did a group rating today, I would probably put her in the S as well, just for the three of our groups together. For me, what makes Wendy not an S tier is that I don't think she goes as hard as the S tiers do for me personally, but I do think Wendy is still a phenomenal investigator. If anyone thinks that I don't think she's good, I'm giving her an A+. So she's great. She's a great investigator, very strong. She's just not my personal level of S tier. Zoe. Bah. Wow, that's actually a big drop for me. From B to A+. Bryn Travis gave her an A. Interesting. And an A+ in 2020. She probably would settle into an A if we did it this year, if we did a group rating from this. But, yeah. But I think what keeps Zoe from me is that, as I said, I grade mostly from stats for how I view these investigators. And having a 4 in fist, the thing she wants to be doing is a little bit harder to trigger, which makes I put her into a B. She could be an A. It really depends on how I'm feeling when you ask me about her. Interesting. Really interesting, though. That A+ from last year is kind of wild to me. It's kind of crazy. It's interesting. I like seeing how her opinions change. This is actually why I'm also doing this. There were some people who were commenting on her videos being like, it'd be cool to see how your opinions change, and I agree, because one of my favorite things to do with this game is learn new things and learn different ways to play it. Try new investigators, try new cards with investigators that I haven't played, and see where investigators go up or down in my personal power rankings. Power rankings are very interesting to me because I like to have these kind of ideas for what I view for them, and it's cool seeing that obviously this year, for 2021, I'm less hot on Zoe than I was last year. What's there to say? What's there to say? We think Rex is an S. It's nothing has changed. Easy. Easy S tiers here. Easy S tiers. Good job, us. We're consistently thinking Rex is a powerful guy. Do you think one of the reasons why you care about stats more is because you tend to lean more towards a skill-based style rather than asset or event? 100%. 100% without any doubt on that complex enthusiasm. I like to play very low-to-the-ground machines. You even saw it in the run that I was just recording where I had Ashcan, Pete, and Joe. And my goal is to start getting clues at the end of my first turn, right? If I'm not progressing in the game on the end of my first turn, I feel like I am personally failing. So it definitely comes down to me, stats are the most important part of a character. Then their ability, then their card pool. It's kind of wild, but it's interesting, right? It's interesting. Because Bryn, he loves assets. He loves them. Who's next? Yeah, Jenny Barnes, she probably would have lived in a C here as well. I'm curious to try Jenny again. One of my goals for 2022 is to play every investigator again. So I haven't played Jenny since like 2017. So I'm curious to try her again and see what she can do with the new money cards. To see if maybe it changes from a C to a B. She's not going to drop down to D. She's not bad. For me, she's not D level. For Bryn, she is. But I think that's just because he views the rogue class as a bit more focused. Like, he knows exactly what he wants from it, and Jenny probably brings that to him the least. Poor Jim. Travis and Bryn have caught down very much lower on him, probably because they saw me struggle with Jim. But to me, Jim is still just, his stats are just fine enough that he remains as a C-tier investigator. If we had to do a group rating, it would have been a D tier for 2022. Just because, 2021, sorry, just because of Bryn and Travis both wanting to give it a D. I'm optimistic that with Nkosi, I might see some personal improvement for Jim Culver. I'm excited to give that a shot. I just might not do it with Bryn and Travis, just so they don't have to go through that again. But maybe I can prove it to them. Maybe I can prove it to them that that Jim's better, and Bryn and Travis will be like, wow. But how it is right now, he's just kind of like below average for me. But I am curious to try him with Nkosi. I'm going to. Heck yeah, I'm going to. Jim, I believe in you. I believe one day. I believe. Travis and Bryn, not so much. Ashcan Pete, as you can see, we're pretty standard here, where you have A's from Travis, myself in 2020, and Bryn gets an A+. He likes Ashcan Pete. He likes Bryn really likes having all of his cards active, so like having something like Ashcan Pete's ability and Wendy Adams' ability really bumps up the strength for them. I'm playing Ashcan Pete right now on the Twitch channel, and I'm having a good time. Would he be higher than A? I don't know. I'll have to see how it goes once the campaign's all finished. Mark Harrigan, this one I'm less upset about the ass, because sexy Mark Harrigan does probably have a fantastic ass. I'm less hot on him than Travis and Bryn were. However, if we did a group rating, he probably would get an S again for 2021. I'm playing Mark on the Patreon channel, and I think that Mark is good. I think he's very good. 5 Fist is very hard to argue with on my end, but he doesn't break the game. It's like Wendy Adams. Like, he's very good and very efficient, but he's not the same for me as like a Rex Murphy or a Mandy Thompson is, or my other S-tier investigators are. And the fact that he is outclassed by one Tony Morgan, it's just kind of a shame. This is another one that interests me. I actually rated Minh lower than everyone else did, which is kind of wild, actually. I don't really know what it was. I just viewed Minh. I view Minh as okay. I don't view her as like okay to good. I don't view her as particularly great. I love Minh. She's my second favorite investigator. But I don't need to say that I don't think her power level is comparable to that of like a lot of the other seekers, right? I think she's good, and I think she's very fun to play, but I don't view her power level as exceptional, right? Like, the thing is, just that she's like, I feel like she can use scavenging with secret cards. She's insane. Yeah, but like, I haven't played that. I haven't done that with Minh yet. So number one, a lot of like these rankings aren't coming with me just saying that things like that the cards will work this way, right? It's me like I rate depending on my practice, right? Like, my ratings I want to do on when I've either seen people play them or what I have myself have experienced, right? Because Scavenging Necronomicon does sound disgusting. However, that also sounds like absolutely boring, right? Like, and it's not something that I do at the table, so I'm never going to play that. So to me, that's like not even the thing. I'm never going to play with the Necronomicon card. So these power ratings for me come from my experience with Minh, and I think she is still just fine. I am excited to try her with some ice picks and go start scavenging. That does sound really fun. And I'm sure that'll happen, and then maybe when I revisit this, we can see what changes there. But right now, with my knowledge on Minh and what I've played with her, I think she's just B. But obviously, I might be in the wrong here, as we're seeing, for in relation to everyone playing board games, which is exciting, because that means I get another chance to play Minh with a whole bunch of new cards, and it's going to be a good time. Sefina. I think Bryn said that he really likes Sefina, so that's why he gave her an S. Sefina also works... there is no wrong here, it's all discussion. I think there's some things wrong. I think we're allowed to say some things are wrong. I can be wrong about my opinions. I'm not too scared to say that. I'm happy to be wrong. As for Sefina, it's true. Makes sense. Yeah, Sefina's cool. I've played her once, and I thought she was just fine. I am curious to play her again and see what happens with it. See if my opinion changes. But my opinion with Sefina is very limited. I think Bryn's very good with Sefina, but for me and Sefina don't really... The play styles don't really mesh too well. But I am excited to give her another shot and see what can happen with that. And then, as you can see, A+, we thought last year she was really strong. And I think, I would argue that she would at least be an A with our group. Bryn might have even convinced us to get to her to an A+. Who knows? Who knows? This one I can explain. This one's actually pretty simple. If you're following the through line for why I am an A and everyone else are Bs here, even past us, is just because she has a 5 in brain. That to me makes it hard to put her lower than A, sorry, because she can still run all of the spells that matter. She does get one more use of the spell, which is kind of minor. Her card pool is notably worse than something like Agnes, right? She gets survivor cards. That's pretty sick. However, I view that 5 brain more valuable than Bryn, Travis, and us in the past. Except though, if we did do a group rating today, she would be a B. I'm going to absolutely butcher this, but Guillaume Gaming Studio, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the goddamn table. It's a pleasure to have you. Will Yorick. This one's pretty standard. This one's pretty expected. A pluses, except for Travis, who gave it an A, and A is still a very good rating, so that checks out. Will Yorick is well liked at this table, and I think this is proof of it. All right, so now this next one. We all gave Lola D's, and I noticed there is some in the comments, there is some discussion where we're basing our opinions on Lola based on jokes, right? Or based on jokes, or based on the knowledge, based on the idea that everyone says Lola sucks, so that means she sucks. I can assure you there is more content on this that we do that you guys don't see. You guys do not see everything, right? So these, and we also play on our own time as well. So these opinions for Lola are formed more than just the joke that Lola isn't good. We have tried to put Lola into practice, and she has let us down before. I myself have done a lot of theory crafting with Lola on my own time, and I do look forward to doing more theory crafting with Lola in my own time. But every time I've played Lola, she is just so hard to get functioning for me and my playstyle that's why she's personally a D for me. I think she's just not that great, and she's kind of just hard to play. However, you can have moments of glory with Lola, but I have not found those yet, and maybe one day I will. But currently, as of 2021, this is where she is. But I can promise you, we are not just, even though we do make the jokes that, Lola sucks. But they're just jokes. They're just jokes. They're just jokes. We're not living off of that opinion. We have we have actual attempts at Lola, and we're trying things out, and we're constantly trying to make her work for us. Not working. Poor Lola. I am excited to try some synergy stuff with her, though. As I said, in 2022, I want to try every investigator for a campaign. So Lola Hayes will be getting a full, campaign eventually, either on the channel or on the Patreon. And if it makes me salty and it makes me angry, I will stand by that D. But maybe she'll get to a C. I don't know. The jury's still out. Leo Anderson, yeah, we're not too hot on Leo Anderson here. I think he's good. Like a B to me is like a good investigator. Once you start getting into A and like A and higher, they start getting like kind of crazy. But with Leo, as you can see, B, B, C, C. Not much has changed in our thoughts on Leo here. Do I want to try Sled Dog Leo? Yes. Do I think Sled Dog Leo is good? No. But do I want to try it? Heck yes. I think it's going to be fun. But Leo's just kind of just fine. He's good, but he's not great. However, Bryn in 2020 think he's like below average. We'll see what happens when he changes. As always, when he gets more allies, things can change. Meat Grinder Leo is also really fun. I do like me some Meat Grinder Leo. But he's just missing that level 3 skull. If he had that level 3 skull, oh, baby, that would be crazy. So this D from Travis, he said in a comment on his tier list that he would probably give it a high C or low B, but just in the moment for his grading system, he viewed it as a D there. So this makes sense because Travis, a big thing for him is that if there's an investigator that he finds no reason to play because every other investigator just does better than it, then it's not really worth it to him. That's a D level investigator, right? However, he says that came in the moment, and he'd probably give her a high C, low B as it changed, so then she probably would have sit around a B with our groups as well, especially if he was in the C area. Ursula also does get worse with 3 or 4 investigators. I recently saw a very nice Ursula run through Dark Matter, and that's why I gave her an A, even though she only has a 4. I just think she's good. I don't think she's the best Seeker. I do think she's better than Minh, because you're just getting free investigates is nice. It's basically kind of like a deduction, but not really. And I know Bryn likes Ursula, but she probably would be I think our opinions haven't changed much on Ursula from 2020 to 2021. Finn, we've definitely improved on. Just looking at that, holy cow. Yeah, wow. That's a big change from 2020 to 2021. I know Travis played him recently. Travis has played Finn twice. That's crazy. There's actually going to be... I'm doing a deck tech for him. Either it's going to be on the channel by the time this video comes out for Travis's Dark Horse Finn deck. It's really cool, and I'm excited to get that deck list on the channel. I've always liked Finn, and I think he's good. And obviously, we also think he's good, and in 2021, he'd probably have an A overall. Wait, Travis plays green cards? Travis does play green cards. He does like to have an opinion on the game as well based on some putting it into practice. Because as you know, as Travis would always say, practice makes perfect. Ha 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 ha. Good job, Finn. Good improvement from 20. Yeah, very good job. Yeah. I don't have much to say about Father Mateo. I think he just gets outclassed by other purple investigators. And we probably would have put him in the B tier or top of C tier. Bryn doesn't really have an opinion on him, as you can see by the gray dash. Yeah. Not too much there, is there, chat? Not too much to say here. He always has the chance to improve, right? Like as he gets more blessed cards. The return to Innsmouth might give him some new goodies, which could be good. I've played a heavy blessed deck with Mateo and had a really great time. Still B, though. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of thing. Like, he's just kind of like... He's fun. I think he's cool. But he's kind of just like... Meh. I've seen Mateo play one time by my friend, and it felt like every test Mateo was doing, my friend was like, I wish I just had one more book or one more willpower. Yeah. Yeah. Good support character, though, for 3 players. Very good support character. This is crazy. This is wild, isn't it? Wow. This is interesting. This is really interesting to see this change here, isn't it? C for Calvin. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. That is accurate. That's how we've done it. So this one's actually kind of crazy because for me, this wasn't actually based on recent experience. However, with my recent Calvin experience, I probably would give him a C tier. and Travis also recently played him and gave the C. I think Calvin's just really tricky though, right? Like Calvin is a definite feast or famine type thing. And I think this is accurate. With Calvin, you either have a C tier game or an A plus game. And there's like no middle ground. There's no middle ground where Calvin is like B tier, getting like a few clues or killing a few creatures and being like, I'm helping. It's either you are doing nothing or you're doing everything as Calvin. And I think that's accurate. I think Calvin is a great character for the game, and I'm excited to try him again in the future. But my recent Calvin attempt, I absolutely botched it. And it could come down to me. It could, it definitely, there was some great discussion in chat about were the decisions I'm making in my deck good or bad. That what made Calvin worse for me than it was actually in practice. The investigators like this are very curious to watch. That it's cool to see how it can change and what he can do, right? That's kind of awesome to see. And I think he's a great investigator for the game, and I'm glad he exists. He's just tricky. If you want to see me play as Calvin, it'll be on our Patreon. It's going to be a public one as opposed to a $10 level, so $3 and up, you guys get to watch it on the Patreon. He does make me want to try him again, though. I also, even though everyone's saying that you should take In the Thick of It with him, I think In the Thick of It is actually kind of a trap. Controversial opinion, maybe. But I think Calvin Wright In the Thick of It is not actually as juicy as we think it might be. But I could be wrong. Bryn thinks Ursula is just a B. Travis and I gave her an A. She's a very good cluver. She gets clues like surprisingly well. It's kind of crazy. I've recently played her as well as this. It was actually on the same time as this Calvin deck. And I think she's good. I think she's a good investigator. She's weird. She's very hard to upgrade it. She's very hard to deck build for. But I like her. Bryn, not so much, but I think that also makes sense because you kind of are just like getting clues, and Bryn hates getting clues. He just hates it. Absolutely hates it. This one's tricky for me. I just played 2 scenarios with Joe Diamond today, and he absolutely killed it. I could see Joe, for me, getting into A tier. Another thing that's also cool to see is that you can see even right here that Bryn and Travis value defense a little bit more than I do. And that probably comes from my Survivor playstyle, where my thought process is that this deck's not going to kill me before I win. I'm like, I'll win before I die. I'm unkillable. And especially now with stuff like Scientific Theory and Michael Lee and Ice Pick potentially, and Professor Webb, there could be a lot that can happen with Joe Diamond that can make us looking back here at 2022 really interesting to see how things change. Very interesting. I like Joe. I think he's very fun, though. I think Joe's a very fun investigator. I have a good time playing him, and I'm happy to be playing him again. Okay, so I gotta say I'm a bit disappointed because when I was doing my tier list, I said I'm going to do something controversial. I'm going to give Preston a B, and then Travis just goes and gives him a fucking A. Come on, Travis. I was supposed to be the controversial one. I think Preston's improving. I think Preston's improving really well, and I think he's becoming really fun to play. And I'm curious to see how Preston continues to grow as the game continues. Obviously, Travis is really high on him, which is kind of cool to see. Because Travis would always talk about how like Preston's just poopy. And then in 2020, as you can see, we also thought that Preston was pretty bad. I'm not going to go A yet, though, but I'm happy Travis did. I'm happy that he took my controversial opinion and made it even more controversial. I think it's really cool. And I think that there's a lot of power that Preston can bring. And I'm excited to see how he changes and how our opinion changes of him over this year. I don't have much to say here. Is the draft run that really opened them up for you guys? I think as well as the fact that we did that playthrough of our joke decks from the live deck build, and I was playing Scrooge Preston, which we thought was like the worst deck that we ever built for that, and like he just brought it. Preston just brought it and kicked ass. And I think that's one of the things that Preston can just, as the card pool gets bigger, he's just going to get better at what he does. I think, though, if you pay attention to what I've discussed throughout this whole thing, my B makes definite sense here for Diana. I understand completely as well that I am very odd man out on this opinion. You can even see this here. I care about stats, and you have to do a lot to get Diana to the point where she can do things. And to me, that's what makes her a B. I'm curious and very excited to give her another try, but for right now, she's sitting in B land for me, and I'm hoping that she can crack open for me, because I am curious to see what can happen with that. Tasty toast. I'm sorry. Moment of silence. Moment of silence. I know. I will say, since my tier list, I started to do a run with Rita. And while she's doing more, I think that she is improving. And I probably, depending on how it goes, she can end up getting a C. She can end up getting a C tier out of me. This is not good for my morale. However, Tasty Toast, just remember this. If S meant speed, she would get an S tier. However, it doesn't, unfortunately. Another thing I learned, and I'm just an idiot. Are you guys ready for Justin's admitting he's an idiot? He plays this game a lot. I thought that track shoes needed to have an enemy there to work. Isn't that wild that Justin thought that? That card seems a lot better, doesn't it, when you don't think that? But for some reason in my head, I was like, yeah, no, this card only works when an enemy would engage you at your location. I didn't know, yeah, it makes it a lot better. Makes it a lot better. Would I spend card slots on it if I'm not planning on invading? No, probably still not. Probably still not. But that's just... Actually, I probably would if I was playing 2 players. But in 3 players, probably not as much. Because you stay a lot closer in 3 players the majority of the time. But it does improve my thought on Rita a bit as well. But I will stand behind my previous rating of D, just because it was only like a month ago. Yep. We're not too hot on Marie. It's a free test to fail in Stella. It's good for her. Honestly, I think Stella does fine without the shoes. Even without the free test, I think she's just fine. Even she doesn't need the shoes to do things. She can just find another test to fail. Marie, we're not too hot on. I've not played Marie. I think Marie is the only investigator I have left that I have not played. I have seen her played by other people, and I think B was where I feel pretty comfortable. But as you can see, we're not too high on this one. I think Marie was the only character you guys had underrated IMO. That's fair. I am curious to try her. That stat line's a bit awkward, though. If only she had 5, 4, 1, 2. That would be a bit juicier. But, as I said, I haven't played her, so maybe I'll find some love with her when I play her. Bah! This one also checks out. His stat line makes him a bit more of a B than an A for me, but I do think Tommy is a good time. I think Tommy's a fun investigator. He's good, but his stat line is what pushed it down for me. This is actually pretty consistent. We're pretty consistent with these things when we're not deciding based on emotion. You can look at an investigator and just look at the cards, and you can look at the stats, and then you can be like, all right, so what would Justin think based on this compared to other people? That's why I like doing videos like this, because it's cool to see how different players look at these cards. Can you guys do a tier list on flavor text on investigator cards? Eyes up, Tommy. D tier. D tier. Sorry, Tommy. Mandy strong. Mandy's strong. Not much more to say. She's just a very strong investigator. Also, YouTube hates her. YouTube hates us playing Mandy because she's so boring. It's wild. Anyways, let's move on. This was crazy to me. To find out that in 2020, we gave Tony Morgan a B. Yeah, this one is very interesting. Like, he didn't even really get much from Innsmouth, did he? Like, for weapons. Because he's not going around using the 25 automatic. He's just using the stuff from Winifred's deck. Right? Is there a noticeable card that he got in Innsmouth? Innsmouth was even out at the time when we had this, to be honest. Yeah, Lonnie is all he needed. Crazy card, man. Shows once again that we're happy to be wrong here, because like Faustian's good in every green. Faustian's good in every character, right? Did everyone play him more this year to see the shift? We have played him a few times on the channel, and it's just his action output. Maybe justify the means for the encounter deck? Yeah. But I think, as you said, with Lonnie, he gets really, really much better at surviving. But Lonnie was out when we rated him a B last year. And now we all kind of agree that he's like, well, maybe not Bryn. Bryn doesn't agree that much, but that's just because I think he has some holdout from not wanting a green character to be this strong. But we all agree that Tony is like the strongest fighter in the game right now. His action efficiency is just so high compared to everyone else. That's crazy. Good job, Tony, though. Great improvement. Very good. Good improvement, buddy. Yeah, this also lines up with what we've been seeing. I played Luke very recently. I don't think he's S tier. He's not my S tier. He's also personally not my A+ tier, just because you have to put a bunch of work into his stats. But his movement is pretty unparalleled. And that's really cool. And I wasn't even doing any of the really cheeky things with Luke, right? Which is like have a hunter any move to your location and then move into your gate box. Hit that witchweed. But it's... yeah, I think this checks out too. This checks out too. I think Luke is great. He's really fun. He's just not my A+ tier, but as I said, looking at the stats, this makes total sense. And our opinions of him have stayed pretty similar to what they were last year. Good job, Luke. Proud of you, buddy. Patrice is another investigator that I'm very excited to give another shot on, but I could not rate her higher than this based on my experience with her, right? Like, that's another thing, too, when it comes to these tier lists and everyone's personal power rankings for these investigators, is that we might not have this, we don't have the same experience that you do. We might not have played Patrice with this in the deck, right? Because, like, Travis recently did a Patrice deck with Mind's Eye, and he said it was a good time. And, like, yeah, that does seem like a good time, but I mean at the same time, to me, that's kind of just like... I still don't know exactly what Patrice does yet for me as a player that makes me want to play her. But I think the next time we have a 3-player game, Travis, Bryn, and I might bring out Patrice to see what I can do with her. If I can have a bit more of a good time with her, and maybe it'll bump my power rankings up for her. Patrice with Mind's Eye is just like, hey, I'm a character now. Exactly. Like, it's nothing like exciting. But I do think that Patrice, kind of like Kelvin, has a bunch of exciting builds for the game. I mean, not so much Calvin. Calvin, you kind of just have to do the same thing. But I think Patrice has, every time new cards come out, it becomes a bit more exciting for her. And I'm excited to play her again. And maybe this B will change. But as you can see, we've kind of stayed pretty similar for our opinions from this year to last year with Patrice. I think, honestly, actually, even when we played Patrice last year, when we rated her here, only I played her then. And B is still a good rating, right? If everyone's like, Patrice, you're saying she's bad. No, B means good. B means okay to good. C is when we start getting a bit. So yell at Bryn, not me. Yell at Bryn. Okay, you can yell at me for this one. I just think Sister Mary is kind of not great. Every time I've played Sister Mary and I've seen someone play Sister Mary, you are doing the same thing, and that's kind of boring. And there's been so many situations where I've seen someone play Sister Mary, and then they go, dang, I only have 3 fist, huh? Oh, and I only have 4 brain, huh? Her stats are just atrocious. But if we follow that logic, that's a through line that checks out with everything Justin has said previously, huh? I like them stats. If you're doing blessed things, Sister Mary is unparalleled. Yeah. It's a damn shame, though, that the blessed things are so boring because you basically build the same deck every time. I hope they do another, I hope they do more blessed things. I don't think we need more cursed things. Cursed can sit in a corner, but I think we need more blessed things, for sure. This one's also pretty wild, isn't it? So I believe when we did our ratings in 2020, only Travis had a thing to add about Amanda Sharpe. And I think he just didn't have a great time with her the first time he played her. I think Amanda's very strong. I think what keeps her out of the S tier is that there was a great discussion in our Discord channel about this. Where her ceiling is really high, but her floor is, what's the best way? How did someone put this? Damn, Next, thank you so much for 7 months at the Golden Table. We appreciate your support. Look at that little naughty frog right there. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It means the world. The thing is with Amanda, you can have a very bad time with Amanda. I think she's very skill intensive. I think she provides a lot of fun decision points. And I think she's very, very, very powerful. I think she is S tier powerful, but to me what keeps it out of there is just because you can have a bad time with Amanda. If you make a wrong choice with your deck building, your Amanda deck's gonna drown. And that's because she's a deep one. Spoiler alert. She's definitely no B tier though. She's definitely not B tier. I have a hard time ever putting her below A plus tier. Of course, unless we get taboo changes, that can also change this. Yeah, Trish is good. I think this lines up with me for my stat thing. Just stats, and you need to work a bit to get a deduction. So I think she's very strong, but for me personally, that's why I'm a bit lower than past us and also Bryn and Travis this year. I think Trish is really fun, though. I have a good time playing her. Her damn Elder Sign, too. Anytime you actually can do that, you're like, oh, dang, this actually has relevant text? What the heck? I think Trish also... I don't know. Oh, yeah, I think this all makes sense with what we've been seeing. We're very consistent. There's a lot of consistency here. Why am I lower than them? Let's think about that. He has a 5 in his brain. Why am I lower than them? I mean, I still agree. I think Dexter Drake's just an A. I don't think Dexter Drake is A+. You don't play assets. Yeah, but I played a Dexter Drake deck that had assets, but maybe not as many assets to take advantage of it. I'm trying to just think of, like, Maybe I would give Dexter another shot. I mean, also as well for this Dexter, I've only played his Molly Maxwell version. And whatever his other one is. I have not played him with his showmanship, which does seem really fun. So I think that's probably also why I'm not seeing some sort of power that these guys aren't, because his stats are good for what that is. I have not played showmanship in Occult Scraps Dexter Drake, which could be fun, which could be really fun, and that might change my thoughts on the guy, because he does have a 5 in his brain. That's what Justin needs. Dexter Drake is best played with both of his signatures IMO. I personally don't like doing that because, to me, that's just like, I don't know. I just feel like that's too much of a good thing. I like to choose one or the other. They're two different Dexter Drakes from different timelines from the multiverse, the Cthulhu multiverse. This one I'm curious to see how it goes over time. Silas. Yeah. Yeah. As you can see, we all think pretty much the same thing on Mr. Silas Marsh. Not really much to say here. Just a bunch of A+ for our boy Silas. And this is the only non-S tier that we agreed on. Wild. I love you, Silas Marsh. This one we also agree on. Nathaniel Cho. Definitely we think he's better than we did in 2020. He would be an A+ if we did a group rating, obviously. Great fighter. He's just very boring to build. You kind of just do one thing. However, I love the card Mono a Mono. I've always loved the card Mono a Mono. So having an investigator where Mono a Mono is extra juicy is a fun time. Yeah, Watchful Peace with the art from the loading screen is definitely S tier Silas. We've improved on Harvey. I think his weakness is pretty easy to play around. He has 5 in book, so like that's a good number. 5 do be a good number. And I think that I'm very excited to try a no-hand Harvey variant once I get a few more cards that can work for it. But I definitely want to play no-hand Harvey. Does that sound fun, chat? Maybe. It's definitely a playstyle that works for me. So I think that's going to be a good time when I can try Harvey out with no-hand Harvey. I've had that deck brewing for a long time, and I don't ever like brew deck with ideas. I usually just like pick an investigator and then just go. But I've been daydreaming about no-hand Harvey for a long time. My voice. We're almost done. I have nothing to say for Winifred. I haven't played her. However, I will note that both Travis and Bryn have dropped their opinion on her. I'm currently playing Winifred right now for a Patreon exclusive campaign. And I still don't have anything to add. But she's definitely dropped in power level for our group, at least for Bryn and Travis, from last year to this year. Cool. Don't have much to say because I have no opinion. I'm just a gray line. I don't think she's A+, but B seems low. Yeah, I could see her falling into A tier. Or, realistically, she might just fall into B tier for me. Depends on how long she takes to get going, right? That's what I look for my investigators. How long can I... How's her flavor text? I can top that. C tier. C tier. Boo! So this is where I learned that that Bryn doesn't think Jacqueline's that strong. I think Jacqueline is too strong. I think she ruins a part of the game. I think a lot of times I play Jacqueline, I do her ability, and then I think this can't be how it works. And it's how it works. crazy. Group rating that probably would sit an A+, though, right? But for Bryn's, it's more of if she is fun versus if she is strong, right? Yeah, I guess that does change a little bit for Bryn. But like then like you look at Nathaniel Cho, and I don't think Bryn would say Nathaniel Cho is fun, right? But he gave it an A+. And I think Jacqueline is stronger than Nathaniel Cho just by the very nature. B for Bryn. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. It's always interesting to see. I do like when we have the big deviations in our ratings, though. It's very intriguing and cool to see. Good job, Stella. You've done it. We have a Stella that's just... killing things is more fun than just passing every test. You know, Rev Chick Flick, that is actually a good point as well. Killing things is more fun than just passing every test. I can agree with that. I can agree with that. And like you get a 1-2 punch from Nathaniel Cho, and boy, does that feel fun. You get a 1-2 punch in Jacqueline, and everyone asks, how the heck did you do that? Stella Clark. We have a lot of problems with the Stella, and it mostly comes down to just her neither rain nor snow. It's just a little bit much, we think. As for Stella, man, it always just works out exactly as you expect, huh? 2020, we thought she was already very good, but I think now at this point, we consider her one of the 3 busted investigators whenever we do our busted investigators joke. This bit is getting old? Nah, it's impossible. You can't get old when it was perfect the first time. All right, so these investigators, these next 6 investigators weren't on the original tier list, but I was just curious to put this on here to see the difference in how we viewed them. So this is something that I also saw on my tier list comments, is that a lot of people thought I was overrating Daniela, and that could entirely be true. However, I think her damage output is kind of crazy, and I think it's just going to get better as Survivor gets more ways to fight. Because like, you get her. I think her wrench is it's a very strong weapon. It's a very strong weapon, and it's like key. I think Daniela with her wrench and Daniela without her wrench is a very big difference for power level. She's very tricky, I think, to comprehend. And I think you need to when you see her in practice, I think she's going to either like fail you or like she's going to fail you or she's going to like exceed expectations. But I mean, she has 5 in fist. Her stat line is insane. Her stat line is like one of the most killer stat lines to ever exist in this game. Right? I just don't like Daniela for being blue-red rather than red-blue. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But I mean, at the same time, I think Survivor's getting better and better weapons. It's going to get... If Daniela's here, they're not going to, they're probably going to give her one more weapon eventually, right? And, Survivors, they're also they're going to get more. And, also, she doesn't really need more. If you get Daniela with Aquina, Guard Dog, and her ability, that represents, so much damage just with her wrench, right? And then also, as Midnight Mask is saying, you get Unstoppable with the Never Die Squad of Peter and Jessica, and then she's a fucking 5-1-6-3. But it doesn't make sense thematically and annoys me. That's also very fair. Yeah, this one I'm curious to see. It could definitely change from this year to next year, but I just wanted to see also how we were viewing them for all of these guys. Norman Withers did exist last year, and apparently we fucking hated him. Apparently we hated this old man last year. Norman Withers, to me, was on the edge of S tier. I think there's going to be a lot of broken things we're going to find out that Norman Withers can do. Yeah, and then has he got the Atlas as well, right? Yeah. He really only got good with the Edge of the Earth cards. I mean, however, you still have 5 in book, right? You can still just get the job done. I would give him an A because he has a 5 in book, even without anything else. Just an A cost card. It's 5 in book. 5 in book. It's hard to beat 5 in book. He also has a really killer stat line. Holy crap. So does fucking Harvey Walters, man. Yeah. Poor Norman Withers. Now all the eyes are on you, and that's why he's like, goo? Is everyone looking at me? Aw, Midnight Mask. Continuing your gift sub that you got. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Golden Table. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for being awesome. I dig it. So I'm pretty high on Honorary Jack. I think he's very good. Travis thinks he's just fine. And Bryn thinks he's a pretty great. Like, very good. Travis putting Jack and B blindsided you. B for blindsided. Oh, let's go. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. I think Jack's very strong. I'm playing him in our run through Edge of the Earth. And he's just impressed me every step of the way. You do need, his level 0 deck is very awkward, but I think the level 0 deck for the majority of these investigators, apart from Norman and Daniela and Bob, so really just for Monerary and Lily, the decks are a little tricky. And also I can see what you're saying as well, Concost, that the limited level 0 cards can feel very rough because there's a lot of very strong level 0 cards. I think he's very strong, though. He might not stay A+ for me when I get to 2022's rating, but I am very happy with him, and I think I'm pretty happy with that A+ rating. I think he's very good. As once again, I also am not scared of the Mythos phase. You're going to kill me? You can't kill me. I'm unkillable. I'm unkillable. So I was also pretty low on Lily Chen, and I think once again, if you follow my through line, that makes total sense. I've seen Lily twice, and I think both times she did well because of Cyclopean Hammer, not because of her. I do think she has the potential, and I think that this is going to change a lot for me when I try her next year. I'm excited to try her with the butterfly swords to see if that changes for me. But I do think that just right now, my opinion on her is lower than it probably should be. But that just means like next year I can be like, wow, look at how wrong I was, right? But Lily can have 5 in combat from the start, though. She can. She can. And then, like, what are you doing? What are you fighting with? What are you fighting with if you have 5 from the start? Dragon Pole? But then you need to do spells. You can do the cheap spells. You can do Talisman of Protection. You could do Machete. Machete, if you're not playing with Taboo, that would be kind of sick. Cannon Blade and Sledgehammer for the first scenario. Sledgehammer sounds awful. Now you're attacking at 4. You're not even at 5 anymore. You're at 4. Enchanted Plane does seem good, though. She's good. I think she will turn out to be A tier in the end. Tasty Toast? I agree. I agree. I think she's good, too. I think she's good. Like, once again, B isn't a bad rating. B is just, to me, that they need, like, the most setup time to get going, right? Like, they're not ready right out of the gate. They need to take their time to get there, and for me, that makes them less powerful than the others. Like, B is not a bad tier rating. I would say, realistically, the only investigators that I think are bad are who I put in my D tier. I think everyone else is good. They just require a lot of love or setup to get going. But I agree. I can see her being in the A tier in the end. I'm curious to see how this changes. And assuming I'm still alive at the end of 2022, we're going to be doing this again. We're going to do this exact thing again, assuming I'm still alive by then. Which hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll make it. If I don't, though, wouldn't that'd make a great little beat for this video, huh? So sick? I like Bob. I think Bob has a lot of potential. I think Bob is really fun. I think these ratings are very fair with how we play and what we think about these characters. Not much more to say here. Not much more to say. I don't have much to say about Bob. Bryn's played 2 decks with Bob. We've only played 2 scenarios of the other Bob deck, but the one through Edge of the Earth is doing really good. And I'm excited to play Bob myself. I'm excited to see what he can do and how I can pilot him. I love me some Bob. Bob's fun. And then we got Gloria Goldberg. She could feasibly be an S for me, but she doesn't hit the S for me personally. I think she's still just A+ for me right now, but I think she's really good, and I think she has the potential to join that S tier in the future, especially if she gets, once her cycle comes out, we're in for a little bit of a doozy, because she's going to get some more support, and then she's going to be even more consistent. I'd love to see an upgraded Alyssa Graham in her expansion. Wouldn't that be fun? An upgraded Alyssa Graham? But yeah, she definitely has the potential. Is Bob with curse tokens a thing? Oh, probably. Bob can make anything work. That's the power of Bob Jenkins. He's the best salesman you've ever seen. She gets 3 copies of her signature for her cycle? I believe so as well. God, I love Gloria. I love Grandma. She's very fun. How do you even upgrade Alyssa, though? Give her a +1 brain symbol. Make her a little bit cheaper. Let her take horror instead of doom. Boom. Three different options. So I built a Bob deck where he sells his soul for great deals, in which you had to play Faustian Bargain. If you draw a curse token, you die. Secrets to not put doom. Yeah, even better. That's even cleaner. I like that. I like that idea. Maybe she'll have a Norman Rise to Power with her cycle. Dude, if Gloria walks away with a Norman Rise to Power, we're in danger, because then we might have our first S+ tier. Oh my god. That's it. As I said, this video was kind of just more fun for me, and I was hoping that maybe as you guys watching here on stream or on YouTube would find some enjoyment out of it, because it is kind of fun for me to look back and see how our opinions changed. Because what's most important, as I said at the start of this video, is that we learn new things as we play this game, and our opinions should be constantly shifting when you're playing this game, because new cards get released. You can try new things with your investigators. You should try things out that didn't work before to see if they maybe work again with a few tweaks to your deck building style. This game is really cool because there is so much to learn, right? And that's what makes it really fun. And that your own personal ranking, if you do like that kind of thing, should be constantly changing. And if you don't like ranking things, do that too. Have some fun with it. That's what makes this game so good, is that there's just so many different things to do. And I'm happy if you joined to watch this, if you're here watching this live on Twitch, or if you're watching on YouTube. And a huge, quick thank you to our patrons for supporting the channel. It means the world to me. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for supporting. Have a good one. And as always, GG's.